Hi everybody, my name is Andrea Buckett and I'm so happy to be with you here today to share a recipe featuring eggs. Canadians love their eggs, it's true, and it's no wonder. With 2 eggs having 13 grams of protein, they're an economical and nutritious way to get protein in your diet. Of course, we love to celebrate our Canadian farmers, and there are 1,000 egg farmers across this country, and they produce over 9 billion eggs a year. So you definitely know that we love our eggs. Let's get started with a sheet pan omelette. I love this recipe because it's really versatile. You can grab whatever vegetables or proteins you have in your fridge and add it to the eggs to tailor it to the likes and the needs of your own household. Of course, the star of the show is eggs. This recipe calls for 12 eggs. But before we get to that, let me show you what I'm going to put in this one. I had some leftover ham in the freezer and I thought this would make a great addition to the sheet pan omelette. So I just took it out and let it thaw, and then I'm going to just chop it into really bite-sized pieces. So I'm just going to, now you could use bacon here. Bacon would be equally as delicious, or some pork sausage would also be delicious. Anything that goes with eggs would be perfectly fine in this recipe. So I'm gonna chop it into bite-sized pieces. And of course we love the taste of ham because it's a bit smoky and it's a bit salty, and it adds just a really great flavor profile to this. I'm gonna set that aside. The vegetables I'm going to use here are some peppers. You can choose to use peppers. I have some red and green alike. I tend to like the green. They're a little bit bitter and they add a nice hit of flavor to this. But you could use vegetables that have been cooked already. You could use broccoli, you could use sweet potatoes, whatever you have in the fridge that you want to use up, this is a great place to do it. Then I'm going to put some cheese on top and finish with some green onions. So for the eggs, like I said, we have a dozen eggs going into our measuring cup here. And these eggs, you can always be sure that Canadian eggs are really fresh because it takes just a week for those eggs to come from the farm right to your grocery store, which is no time at all. So you can always be assured that they're nice and fresh and that they're going to taste their best. We go through a lot of eggs in our house. It's a really affordable form of protein. Of course, it has vitamin A and vitamin D in it. We're just gonna give this a quick whisk, and I'm going to add about half a cup of milk. And you can use, of course, whatever milk you have in your household. 2% would work, 1% would work. If you wanna make it a little bit richer, you could always go ahead and use cream. And you just want to whisk this up until all of those egg yolks are broken up. Beautiful. Okay, now I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. When I do an omelet like this in the oven, I like to cook it low and slow so the eggs stay nice and tender. I also like to put it in a pourable measuring cup like this because it just makes it really easy to pour it onto the sheet pan when we're ready to assemble everything. Now we have some of the best health and safety standards for our egg farmers here in Canada. They have to follow national food safety and animal care practices, which include, record keeping and regular inspections and other quality assurances. So you can be sure that our eggs are healthy, safe, and delicious all the time. All right, that is whisked up. Now this is where the magic happens. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put in some spices. I want to add, you don't have to do this, but this is just a little extra. I'm going to add some thyme, about half a teaspoon, some garlic powder, and a little bit of salt to that, and give that a whisk. And that just adds a little bit more flavor to those eggs. All right, now we're ready to go. So this is where the magic happens. You know how much we all love sheet pans. They make life easy. And maybe this is not something that you have thought of before, is to make a sheet pan omelette. I like to use a piece of parchment here because it's going to allow the omelette, once it's cooked, to release quite easily from the pan, okay? So we are going to start by laying down our veg. And I always like to, they say you eat with your eyes, so I always like to use a variety of colors when I'm cooking, hence the different color of peppers I used. We'll put our ham down here. Gosh, that looks great already. And then we are going to pour on this egg mixture. So I'm just gonna give it one last whisk here to make sure everything's incorporated really well. And we're just going to carefully pour that egg mixture on. Perfect, and that fits perfectly into this sheet pan. I'm going to garnish with a couple of green onions. I think green onions add a nice little hit of flavor here. But like I said, you could use whatever veggies, whatever protein you liked here. I'm a fan of a Western omelet, so I thought of going with the ham. I chose to use green onions here because white onions might have to be cooked before you put it on here. So I thought green onions would be a good option. And of course, a little bit of grated cheddar cheese. Now, if you have people in your household that like different things, you could certainly do half and half, but everyone in my house loves cheese. So I'm just going to top this entire thing with this grated cheese. And there you have it. That is going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. The egg will puff up a little bit. It'll be firm in the center, and then we're going to pull it out and we're going to show you what we serve it with. So here it is, completely cooked out of the oven. It took 20 minutes at 350 degrees, and what you end up with is a gorgeous sheet pan omelet just like this, chock full of all that great nutrition and toppings that you love. Now this is the fun part here. We're gonna slide this right off our sheet pan because we put it on parchment paper and cut it into portion sizes. So I like to cut it into squares. So I'm going to cut this in half and then these in half. So you end up with 4 strips. And then we're gonna cut it in another 3 strips. So you end up with, how many is that? 12 portions. It's perfect. I'll show you here. All that goodness is inside. Now here's a couple of ways you can serve it. Of course, you could eat it straight up just as it is, or a fun way to do it would be to, I'm gonna cut this into strips here, and just serve it alongside a power bowl, which would be great for breakfast or even for lunch. That is a great option. A lot of protein there. You got your sweet potatoes and veg. Always trying to get those veg in. If you want it for breakfast, nothing like a classic breakfast sandwich. It's one of our go-tos in our house. Toasted English muffin. Pop that on there. You could add an extra layer of cheese if you want. Of course, you cannot, in my opinion, have a breakfast sandwich without a good dose of ketchup. Pop that on there, serve it with an apple, and you've got a great snack, lunch, or breakfast. So that's it. That is our sheet pan omelet. I hope you all enjoyed watching this recipe demo featuring eggs and of course ham and those great Canadian ingredients. We love to support our Canadian farmers. I hope you enjoy making this recipe as much as I do. Here's a great tip. Obviously, you're probably not going to consume this all at once. So you can store these in the refrigerator in an airtight container. You can also freeze them. If you freeze them, you want to put parchment paper in between each egg, but pop them into a container, top it off, and put it into your fridge for snacks, lunches all week.